Welcome to the Daily Insider here on VegasInsider.com. I am Kevin Rogers, and if you didn't hear, a lot of internet sites were down for a while. Facebook, and we use StreamYard, which is the popular site for, it's like a Zoom, and it broadcasts, and unfortunately it was down. We were about to start at 11:58, and all of a sudden it said your internet's not working. We checked it. Internet was working, and it was on their end, and it was pretty much a worldwide thing. So that's why it took us a little while to get on the air, but kind of like rain delay theater. We just had a long rain delay, but didn't have like on TBS, Leave It to Beaver or the Andy Griffith Show or Matlock to show you. So we're with you now, and thanks for bearing with us. And we're going to look back at Week 4 in the NFL coming up in just a moment. But first, we want to tell you about our friends at BetMGM, the king of sports books. And there's a really cool deal going on right now that if you are a new player and you bet $10, you can win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. Bet on any NFL money line, and if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. And BetMGM, legal in the following states: New Jersey, Colorado, Indiana, West Virginia, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Virginia, Iowa, Washington, D.C., and Arizona. And you must be 21 years or older to play, and also full terms and conditions apply. That's BetMGM, the king of sports books. And Week 4 in the NFL, obviously the big story was Tom Brady returning to New England last night, and the Buccaneers were a public favorite, very, very public favorite, and they never covered the entire game, or they never were in a position really to cover. And Tom Brady, maybe the rain affected him a little bit, but also the number here, which I find very fascinating, that since Tom Brady joined the Buccaneers, they were 0-5 against the spread last season or at night. In the night games, they didn't cover one time. Now, if you want to say that, well, what about the Super Bowl? I don't count that one. I mean, I don't know if I'm being petty with that trend and saying the Super Bowl doesn't count on it, but Tom Brady 0-5 against the spread last year in primetime games, 0-1 against the spread this year. And in the wins, they beat Washington in the wild card game that Saturday night. But they barely beat the Giants on a Monday night. They barely beat the Patriots on a Sunday night. And New England hung with them. I'll give Bill Belichick credit. They hung, and they ended up, they didn't end up winning the game. They had that last-second field goal that ended up clanking off, I should say clanking, but it was a long field goal that ended up hitting the post. Or I guess, hit the post. But yet, Tom Brady's numbers weren't great in the game, but he did enough to win. And it wasn't an easy spot for Tampa Bay, for Tom Brady especially, because he had to deal with, going back to New England, all the emotions, the fans. And I'm impressed with the New England fans. They knew what they had with him. And even though Mac Jones will be good someday, we just don't know when that's going to be. We know that they definitely went down a notch when Tom Brady left. So a very good win for the Buccaneers. But I don't know if it was a good win for the sports books, because I think it was a much better win for the sports books as we bring in Dave Sharapan, who joins us. And Dave, I mentioned earlier, because of the whole StreamYard situation, that this was like rain delay theater. Yes, you just didn't know what program you were going to watch. If it was Leave It to Beaver, or if it was Matlock or Andy Griffith Show.
Oh man, you really pulled out some old stuff there. That's awesome.
Pete Van Wieren. WTBS, 5 after the hour.
It's all there, right? Oh my goodness. That book, that game was a monster, Kevin. It was huge. I was out and about all day. I talked to people all week. That was one of those 90. I mean, it probably finished 90%er, meaning 90% of the bets were on one side and the book side won. So they got to the number 7, realized that was the high point. We don't need to go anymore. Sharp guys were taking 7. Left it back at 6.5. Let the chips fall where they may, win or lose. That's where the number is. And, that one, round 1, whatever words you want to use, pros versus Joes. I've started to use parallelograms versus rhombuses just because it's more fun to say. And round 1 goes to the books.
I think I don't know if I talked about it with you last week, Dave, or not, but at least just think about it in my head. And I did a best bet video at Vegas Insider about it. I didn't love Tampa Bay because everyone was on them, but also on the flip side, I couldn't make an argument for New England just because.
Right.
But again, Belichick is a home dog. I had mentioned this before. Brady in prime time with Tampa Bay was 0-5 against the spread. I'm not counting the Super Bowl, but 0-5 against the spread last year. And now first time in prime time. The only argument you can make is for New England is to say, I'm just going to be contrarian. Like that. Could you make an argument for New England last night or just say, I'm going against the public and that's it?
No, not without knowing that there was going to be, a constant rainstorm the whole night, which really affected both teams. But not without knowing that Gronk wasn't going to play. That's a big thing for Brady. When he has him, they just find ways to move the ball and get first downs. And obviously he's such a huge red zone target. But no, there's nothing that New England was doing that made me say, oh, that plus the points is a great play. So, yeah, by the time the game got to kickoff, I knew I was out actually with Chris. I said, the Patriots are going to cover this game. You can just tell. And he's like, what do you mean? It's just what it feels that way. So sometimes there's just no explanation. But if they play 10 times and it's not raining, if it's decent weather and all that other stuff, and everybody's full, roster, Tampa wins and covers 7 out of 10 times. So it's just one of those things. You see this in the NFL. It delivers every time, Kevin. It's crazy. It just delivers every time.
What kind of a hit do the sports books take if Tampa Bay covers last night?
Oh, it's a losing week because, the majority of decisions, I mean, dogs were what, 8-6 or so, 9-6 against the spread, I think. So more dogs won and like 6 won outright. So, but they were kind of not public dogs. They just made moves that way. So I think books get crushed. I mean, buried. There were people that were telling me this is a multiple 6-figure decision, which means that, that game alone is the swing game for the day. You break even, you're up a little bit, you're up a lot, and then you lose the big decision game of the day. And I mean, that was almost like Super Bowl type handle, Kevin. That game yesterday, if you only bet one game all season, let alone yesterday in the NFL, you bet that game. It was Brady's return to Foxborough. It's never happening again. I mean, the guy's got to be retired by the time they appear on the schedule again. I can't believe that they're not going to. So that was it. And, it was one of those one-time things that I think a lot of people were out and about or had an app, said, I'm betting this game because I'm going to watch it. And they bet Bucks and they bet over, and it came Patriots and under. So it was a monster for the books.
I want to take a look at some of the other action from the NFL, Dave. And, obviously we got to hit on your Steelers.
Oh, yeah.
They were 1-0 at one time. They beat the Bills, and they've lost 3 in a row. And, they go to Green Bay. We know that Mike Tomlin's a very good underdog, but yet when is it time to pull the plug on Ben?
I think at some point, if you want to make a decision for the team to compete right now, you may have to bench Ben. And you go to Ben and say, look, do you want to fake an injury? Do you want to step down? What do you want to do here? Because we got to play the kid because you can't move and you can't throw the ball more than 20 yards. I mean, it's not personal, but if you want to do the right thing by the team, it's going to have to, it's going to come very soon, if not this week. And that's hard. But, I mean, Mason Rudolph is not much of an upgrade, but at least physically he can perform the job. I always used to say that about backup quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't care who you are, what you do, all this stuff. You have to physically be able to perform the job when you go in. And Ben can't do it right now. So I'm surprised, not by the line this week. I mean, Pittsburgh -1 against Denver coming up. I would have made the game a pick and just said, you guys bet it. So people are going to keep betting the Steelers because of the brand name. It's funny. There's just certain teams that continue to get bets even when they're not good. It happened last year with New England. It happens. It takes a little while for bettors to really come to grips with this team is just not good or this guy is just not good. He's causing his team to lose. It's easy to ride the winner. It's hard to pick against the loser, I think, when you have been betting for a long time. So that's kind of why I wore this tonight because, Monday Night Football, and I got this throwback jersey and the Chargers, and they're playing against the Raiders. So I'm going to be like every book in town now here in Vegas and root against Vegas every week because it would pain me if my kids become Vegas fans because it's their team. I embrace the Knights. I'm not embracing these Raiders.
Well, we'll get to the Chargers in just a second, the Chargers-Raiders game. So I want to talk about that with you. I want to hit now on this Ravens-Broncos in which Baltimore took care of Denver. And the Broncos, look, Dave, I know that we're not going to dog them for one game. We can't do it. And the schedule, you beat 3 teams you should have beat, but I think we see where the Ravens are at in the AFC and where the Broncos are at, that the Broncos quite aren't there yet.
Correct. And I don't know if we can just say the Broncos are going to get there, but I think we can say the Ravens are there. They've had everything bad happen to them already. It's through week 4. They've had injuries. They've had, the COVID stuff. Are you getting a shot? Are you not getting a shot? Well, we don't know. I don't care. Like there's been so much going on, and then the Ravens just show up and win. And the favorite, it flipped in that game yesterday, became the Ravens the favorite. I think that was a bad game for the books because a lot of people were on it, but then a lot of bad guys came in on the Ravens. Going forward, I mean, the Ravens are right there with Cleveland. I was, after last week, you're ready to just anoint Cleveland's going to win the division. Cleveland has their hands full. And between Cleveland, Baltimore, and the Bengals, the Steelers just became the worst team in the division with the oldest quarterback and the worst quarterback in the division, just like that.
Now, the New York teams, Mazel Tov to the Giants and the Jets. And let's start with the Giants. And look, the judge and the jury, he's a great road underdog. You got to give him that. Joe Judge now, I think the number is 8. Is he 8-2 against the spread? He's got a really good number as a road underdog since becoming the head coach of the Giants. And they go to New Orleans and win outright in the Saints home opener. That's a great job by them.
It's a great job by them. And I think you can kind of tell, and again, I watch a lot of the games without sound, so I don't hear anything, but I was, like yesterday, was out and about and watching the game, and I'm going, look at this sideline. Like, look at these guys. They believe. Like, whatever is going on there, they just went to New Orleans and won. And you can't say there weren't people in the stands, and you can't say that, New Orleans wasn't ready for the game. The Giants won the game. That division, it's not just Dallas and done. I think I was impressed with what I saw. Today's a lot of review, and I'll find out exactly how, why, what, and what they did. But them and the Jets yesterday were monster games for the book. When a 7.5-point dog wins outright and kills all the money lines, all the teasers on the Saints. Then on top of that, you get probably the most bet against game, survivor pick. Everybody, I mean, a majority of people had Tennessee. And Tennessee's defense proved to everybody that they got a lot of work to do. It's not as easy just hand Derrick Henry the ball and run, win the division, cover the spread, blah, 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 blah. I was impressed with the Jets too. And that one actually went to audio in the main game. I mean, you'd have never thought the Jets and the Titans would have been the main game in a book, but it was for a while. Overtime win, another impressive one, and another monster game for the book. When two 0-3 teams from New York both win their games outright, everyone that had a money line parlay had one or the other, the Saints or the Titans. So it was done.
Now, this one's kind of a funny one. There's one 4-0 team against the spread in the NFL. How about them Cowboys? Amazing. They're the only team that has not failed to cover the spread yet in the game.
Can't believe it. Wouldn't have guessed it, but man, are we ready to say this team's good? I think so. Are we ready to say they're a Super Bowl contender? I personally am not. And you want to talk about teams that's going to be painful for me to wear a hat of. I'm draw a line certain places. I can't do the Ravens stuff. Just don't like it. The purple's pretty good. It's the Browns. The Browns one will hurt putting on. The Cowboys is one for me. You're either public-wise, betting-wise, you're either on them, and how about them Cowboys, and you like them, or you're against them. And being against them has been profitable in the years past, recent years past, especially last year was a field day. It was great. I think Dallas is for real.
Raiders-Chargers tonight in L.A. You got your Charger gear on. I don't know if that's Chuck Muncie or John Jefferson or Wes Chandler or whoever you got on. But what are your thoughts in this game? Herbert, Carr, Raiders looking to go to 4-0.
Oh, man. I like the Chargers. I just think that, listen, I'm not saying that the Raiders are due for a game like the Broncos just had, because the Raiders beat Baltimore at home. They beat the Steelers on the road, which, again, now that win is not looking as big of a win. And they beat Miami at home, which right now I'm starting to question as well. I mean, injuries you can't account for and stuff like that. Bridgewater getting hurt yesterday really hurt Denver. I'm trying to play this game out in my head score-wise. Obviously, 27-24 is 51, which is the total, which is what I think the books kind of came up with. I like the Chargers for the side. I think the total, again, I'm leaning over. At least we know we're going to get a good weather game because the primetime overs have been a real thing. I'm not picking it just because it's primetimes and over have been happening. But I think the game kind of plays out. I'm still not of the school of thought that the Raiders play a defensive game to win. I think they have to play a shootout. I think the game goes back and forth more than you think. Chargers win a turnover battle, win the game.
Dave Sharapan, we had him on after the long rain delay here, but we appreciate you. Check him out on Twitter at Sportsbook Consigliere, SportsBKCONSIG. Dave, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again next week.
Hey, man, when you rolled that tarp back in and we got out here, we got baseball to talk about. If you want to talk about baseball, your man said, give me a call. We'll do some baseball stuff. So I'll be watching Wild Card Days and all kind of other stuff the rest of the week.
Well, looking forward to talking about that. Appreciate it, Dave.
See you, man.
All right. There is Dave Sharapan, and always good stuff from him. Let's get into some of the baseball as well here on this edition of the Daily Insider. And you have the two games coming up in the wild card, Yankees and Red Sox. And they play tomorrow at Fenway Park. Garrett Cole takes them out for New York, Nathan Eovaldi for Boston. And it's kind of interesting from this standpoint that both teams finished with the same exact record, 92-70. The Red Sox have the home field because they won the season series over the Yankees. And Boston won 10-9. So 19 matchups, Boston won 10-9. So they barely got it. But the Yankees won the final 6. So the Red Sox were dominating the Yankees for the most part. Then the Yankees got back-to-back sweeps One at Fenway, one at Yankee Stadium, and the last one at Fenway, Garrett Cole beat Nathan Eovaldi in one of those games. Now Garrett Cole is laying the same number as he did the last time against Eovaldi, and also the Red Sox are 2-4 in Eovaldi's 6 starts. Now I'm going to have a best bet video for the Red Sox and Yankees coming up a little bit later, so you can check that out for the game on Tuesday. But I'm not going to say Major League Baseball didn't want Mariners Blue Jays, but Major League Baseball is thrilled it's getting Yankees Red Sox coming up Tuesday night from Fenway Park, and the winner advances to face Tampa Bay. The loser will take on no one. The loser's out, actually. But I kind of went a little ahead of myself in my head. White Sox Astros on the other side in the American League, and then you have the Rays versus either the Red Sox or the Yankees in the American League Divisional Series. Now, on the other side with the National League, they get going on Wednesday. It's the Cardinals and the Dodgers. We've known this matchup for a few days now. And LA suffering a tough blow yesterday. Max Muncy got hurt, their first baseman, and kind of an ugly injury, a throw. He was covering first, and he went to go reach for it. The runner ran into him, and who knows how long he's going to be out for. So obviously that's a big blow for the Dodgers. But you do have Max Scherzer on the mound coming up on Wednesday night. And Scherzer, who, look, he has been exceptional for the Dodgers. They're 11-0 in his 11 starts. And the Cardinals go with Adam Wainwright, who he's been great too. St. Louis is 13-1 in his last 14 starts. But the Dodgers, a heavy favorite here. Normally the heavy favorites in the wild card games have done well. So you would think LA would be the play here. You're laying a heavy number with them. LA would play San Francisco coming up in the next round. So you're going to have at least one of the 100-win teams not make it to the NLCS. So you have Giants versus Dodgers or Cardinals, and then Braves Brewers is the other NLDS matchup. And Dodgers won 106 games and still finished in second place because the Giants had just an unbelievable season. And 7.5 total coming up. You could find that at BetMGM, those lines there. So you have Major League Baseball off today and then back at it coming up tomorrow. You could have had 3 games today, in fact. You could have had possibly up to 3 games. Dodgers-Giants would have been for the division title for, obviously to see who would get who would make it to the NLDS and who had to play the wild card, but that didn't work out since the Giants controlled their own fate yesterday and they beat the Padres. But you could have had the American League a 4-way tie, but the Red Sox ended up coming back to beat the Nationals. Yankees beat the Rays on a walk-off, and Toronto won, but Seattle lost. So you didn't get the 4-way tie. Instead, you only had a 2-way tie. And the Yankees and Red Sox are going to play coming up in the wild card. Let's tell you about WynnBET. And at WynnBET, $1,000 risk-free bet. And you could download the mobile app at iOS or on iOS or Android. And it's a really cool feature. When you download the WynnBET mobile sportsbook, you can get a $1,000 risk-free first bet. That means if you lose your first wager, you get it back up to $1,000 as a free bet credit that you can use for another bet. And WynnBET is legal in the following states: New Jersey, Colorado, Indiana, Virginia, Arizona, Tennessee, and Michigan. And you can check out more of their great bonuses as well. And also, WynnBET is on site at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, as they're the official partner of the New York Jets. If you were at the game yesterday, you could have checked it out. The Jets and Titans went to overtime. And WynnBET, an official partner of the New York Jets. So you can, next time, if you're in the area, you can check that out there with the Jets when they are at home. WynnBET. You can find that $1,000 risk-free first bet there at WynnBET. Now, I want to hit on some more of the NFL really quick before we exit today. Sorry for the late start, but Never like making excuses, but a lot of big servers down today. If you had Facebook or Instagram or any of that, there's issues everywhere. And same thing with StreamYard, who we've used for a while, and that's what happens. So the Dolphins looked terrible yesterday. They lose to the Colts 27-17, and the Dolphins have a lot of issues. They go to Tampa next week to face the Buccaneers, and they're going to be double-digit favorites probably, or double-digit dogs in that game. And congratulations to the Colts. They finally got through in the win column. So they go to Baltimore coming up on Monday night. The Bills were laying 18 to the Texans, and it didn't matter. They still beat them 40-0. So Buffalo's on track. They're 3-1. They're looking good. And, right now they are in excellent shape. Did not get to this with Dave Sharapan, but the Cardinals, good job by them. And I mentioned that as one of my best bets Friday. I actually took the Jets and Cardinals. So finally got some winners on that one. But Arizona, though, they go to LA and they beat the Rams 37-20. So Arizona now at 4-0, leading the NFC West. The Rams end up losing their first game of the season. So now they're 3-1. And look, Kyler Murray played well. Cliff Kingsbury's been a very good road underdog since he's been the coach of the Cardinals. So now the Rams, they face the Seahawks next week. And the Seahawks ended up beating the 49ers yesterday. Seattle's offense was outgained by over 200 yards by San Francisco. Trey Lance came in to play for the 49ers in place of Jimmy Garoppolo. But Seattle got the win. And got to give them a lot of credit for that the Seahawks bounced back. They're now 2-2. Niners 2-2. The Rams are 3-1. The Cardinals at 4-0. So the NFC West, we knew how good it would be, and it's as good as advertised. And it's going to be competitive down towards the end. And then tonight you have Raiders Chargers, and you can check out my best bet video on YouTube for that game tonight. And a very important game in the AFC West. The Chiefs won yesterday at Philadelphia. So Kansas City getting back in the race. Denver lost its first game. And now if the Chargers win tonight, you'll have the Chargers and Raiders at 3-1. Chiefs at 2-2. Broncos also at 3-1. So that will make the race a lot more competitive. But also on the flip side, if the Raiders win, they're 4-0. Not saying they're running away with the division, but an important win for them because they would now obviously be 1-0 in the AFC West. So before we exit here today, again, want to tell you about BetMGM, the king of sports books. If you bet $10, you as a new player, you win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. Bet on any NFL money line, and if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets for new players only. Must be 21 or over. Legal in the following states: New Jersey, Colorado, Indiana, West Virginia, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Virginia, Iowa, Washington, D.C., and Arizona. Full terms and conditions apply. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. So want to thank Dave Sharapan for joining us once again. And we'll be back on with you tomorrow at noon at our normal time, as long as the world doesn't get all messed up from a connectivity issue. Then we should be fine. But in case you missed any of it, you could find it on VegasInsider.com, the Daily Insider, as well as on our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for watching today's edition of the Daily Insider. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. And as always, best of luck with your bets.